What is going on, everybody? In this video, we're providing you a state of the market and stock picks for March 2nd, 2023. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market. So we are continuing to see a lot of sell pressure coming into today. The market's bounces are extremely weak. Today, we even had mortgage applications or negative 5.7%, as previous was negative 13.3%. For those are mortgage applications, 30-year fixed rate is jumping back up to 6.71. What else did we have today? Today we had ISM manufacturing PMI. Actual was 7.7 versus 47.7. Previous was 47.4. Consensus was 48. Forecasted was also 48. So things are not getting better. It leads me to believe that again, core is going to be really bad moving forward. But again, what's really going to matter is we are just holding our breath until next week. The market, like I talked about in the beginning in the weekly update, I thought we would have had more of a bullish stance this week to try to soften potentially next week's blow. But we're not even seeing that. So we're seeing a very weak pump. And something I've even shown here on the monthly is that, we had the same exact move, smaller to the upside right here. This is what I talked about, where we had that 680 point rally, and then bam, next month, just straight down 830 points. I think that's the same exact move that we're getting from here, is about almost 700. And then I think we're going to head back down, potentially even lower than this 34. Is it this month? It's just, you could essentially make a good case for this month being just like this candle, right? There was an expectation we were going to pivot here. And this is what would happen. This is what happened when we came in at 75-point basis move. I think that's the same scenario we're setting up here. The candle open right below, and then we're going to dump to potentially a new low. I think what's going to happen here again is that we're already pricing in. Today they started talking about that September we're looking at a 5.5% interest rate. So we're creeping closer to 6. I think will eventually, if we're going to hold rates, I think it may be closer to 6.5, 7 is kind of where I'm looking at. Again, it really depends. I think we can get high into the 6s, potentially, maybe even 7. I think around there we can finally find a place where we can hold rates. Again, that's highly dependent on what core looks like. But I think at that point, I think we should be good, in my opinion. I think we can recover quickly, but I think we still need another year to be able to do that. We need one more big blow to be able to do that. So we are waiting to see what exactly happens. But this month is setting up in that fashion. There was this expectation that we'd hit 25-point basis move. We get 2 more 25-point basis move, and that would be it. We hit peak inflation. That was it. This whole thesis that's been playing out in the market about, not my thesis, but what's been essentially this theme that's been played, is that we've hit pivot, everything's great, we're going to rally right back. Now you're starting to see the reality of the situation, in that it's not that case. We're going to have to continue rates increases. And we have Powell next Tuesday. He's going to give his testimony. And then again, he'll be fielding some pretty heavy duty questions. And then on top of that, you're going to have non-farms. And then the following week, you're going to turn around and have, I think you might actually have Powell again that week. Plus you have core, and then you roll right into monetary policy. And so those events alone are very, very, very pivotal and you have a couple of them this month. So if we continue to get bad news this month, I could surely see us trying to test this low, this candle that went straight down, almost down almost 800 points. Now you're counting 800 points from this, so it did start here from the top of this candle. So essentially, we'd be starting here, and then maybe we go down just like there, 830 points. So 830 points. Again, something I've talked about. Maybe that puts us at 3361. Maybe that's our new low. And then at that point, wherever this candle lands, I'm thinking could potentially be the bottom. But again, it really just depends on how everything does play out at that point. Are we going to get a black swan event that's going to kind of solidify that bottom? I don't know. It really depends. I'm hoping that that's the bottom. But again, there's no way of really telling that. There's no way of forecasting the future. That's why I do so much intraday stuff, because you can see the price action change. You can see the news events that are coming out. You know what to anticipate with the other scheduled events. There's just very strong, highly likely possibility we could at least see a new low. Will it be the low? That in itself is hard to tell. It depends on how everything is going to unfold at that point. So again, we don't know for sure, but we can definitely assume that things could potentially play out the same way. Again, I've been calling this particular move could be what is happening, and now that the monthly candle has opened below, I think that's a very, very strong possibility. Again, much like this similar move here, where we broke back down and open, or essentially closed back below the last month's candle on the push, and then come to find out, exact same scenario. We are worse than expected, and so we could potentially dump from that point. Again, I could be wrong. We could start pushing up and everything aligns. It's a possibility. Anything's a possibility. Everything is always 50-50. If you think this is, again, easily black and white, then anybody can make money very easily in the market. That is not the case. There's a lot of different dynamics that happen that influence other things. And so, again, very heavily manipulated. So, with that being said, SPX, I think going into tomorrow, again, if we can't hold, we've been testing this 3940. If we open below that tomorrow, I think we're going to be seeing the 3900 tomorrow. Again, very strong possibility. We'll see what happens there. Again, there's no real setup. I was really hoping by Thursday, Friday, we could try to make some sort of push up. Again, if we can't break above the 39.75 tomorrow, I think we can at least try to go for 40.20 tomorrow. We'll see. Again, it all depends on how we open. That's what matters. Right now, this has been kind of a pretty strong support right now, but there isn't justification to push back up. People are aware that we got some big events and things aren't looking good. So you're not seeing very many big bounces, but you're not seeing a lot of selling either. You do also potentially have some emergency bond buying as well that is helping with propping the market up as we speak. So we have to wait and see. The dollar, again, trying to price in that that 5.5 for September for this year. We'll have to see this. The dollar has been bouncing all over. Again, the dollar, if the bull or bears really want this to keep going, you do need to break out over this. Essentially, the 105.65 mark. If you need to break and hold over that, if you can break over that, again, I think you're going to go back to all-time highs. I think you're starting to see the strength build up. Again, I think there'll be one last major dip, and I think everything is kind of aligning for this month to be able to do that, to potentially meet a new low. But again, you need all these ducks in the row, all these pivotal events that I'm talking about to line up in that fashion to where you can get a more sell pressure and fear to push us down to a new low. Because right now there is still some mixed data out there that could potentially think that maybe things might recover, whatever the case is. Same scenario, everything was way off. Let's sell way off, and then you're going to get the hopium again, and then you'll start pushing up. This time, I'm hoping this is the bottom, and we DCA in at that point, and then we start pushing up and grinding up from that point. It's not saying it's going to be easy right up. I think you're still going to have some drops um, with other things, other potential events that could play out because of what's currently going on. But I do think recovery for the market and everything should be next year at some point. I don't know when next year. I'm kind of hoping for summertime next year would be the pivotal comeback to life in the stock market. That's not saying everything's going to come back fat quickly. Everything else is going to come back in a short amount of time. And this would be a short recession, right? Just a couple years, roughly. It'd be roughly about 2.5 years by the time this plays out. Maybe longer. You have to anticipate things can go a lot longer than expected as well. So we have to, again, wait and see. Bitcoin, again, still holding. We have to see if the events of this month play out and the market starts to sell off. Is Bitcoin going to hold as well, or is it going to sell off? In my opinion, I think you're still teetering with a lot of Binance stuff as well. A lot of very suspicious things that if something does come out there, that's going to be a huge blow to crypto in general. And that's going to make, in my opinion, that's going to make a new low for Bitcoin. But again, we wait and see. At this point is where everything starts to get nasty. You're going to continue to clean and normalize everything, all markets, and then we wait and see when the dust settles and we go from there. But you do need these cleansing periods. Like I said, they're much needed in every market, every couple of decades, right? And so with that being said, Tesla, massive selling investor day today. Let me put this down to 1 hour. It's been getting obliterated after hours from what's been going on. So I think this Tesla can make some huge drops here. You got a support here at 185. It does break that tomorrow. You get a pretty big jump down to 175. Again, I'm really kind of expecting this thing to bottom at 140. Maybe lower if we can get some really heavy sell pressure. If there's more, if we get a really, really bad core, I think this thing is going to go, it could break to a new low. But you need a bad core, and you need the Fed to at least raise it up to 50-point basis move, and then slowly start progressing into, okay, well, maybe we need a couple 50-point basis moves. And if they start talking about 6% as opposed to the 5.5, they're slowly trying to make that case. Well, it's just 5.5. Oh, it's just 5.75. Well, we got to do 6, right? And then you're going to start drawing panic. And so that's why they're not going to just bump it up automatically to 6, right? They said 5.5. That was a huge jump from where we're at. Now they're just going to slowly increment it up, right? They're trying to essentially warm the water so you're not really noticing that things are getting worse than what they are. That's the best thing to do. You can't just, they say that what's the best way to cook a frog is you can't just throw a frog in boiling water, right? The frog's just going to jump out. But if that frog's in the water and you slowly raise the temperature of the water, you can boil that frog without that frog even knowing. It's the same kind of scenario in which we are currently in, as we're slowly, things are bad. Right. If you can kind of take the grunt of that hit and slowly raise the fact that inflation, it's there, but it's not really that bad. It's there, but it's not really that bad. And then when you look back at it, you're like, holy cow, inflation was way more than expected, right? That's kind of the scenario in which we are currently in right now. And we are the frogs in the pot, right? And we are getting boiled from not only from inflation being so high, but these high interest rates, and the fact that they could go well over 6 is a very, very strong possibility that people need to wrap their heads around, because if the next inflation comes out and it's over, we're getting to that peak where it's going to start peaking up. If we see past 9.1, we're going to see 75-point basis moves again, and who knows where we're going to land at that point. Right now, they're trying to ease us back into the thought of increasing potentially at 50. So they're greasing that skid already. Just be mindful of that. So nonetheless, I think that could potentially lead us to sell off pretty heavy. Again, we're trying to get into a down cycle with Tesla. It's hard. Once Tesla starts getting crazy momentum like this, it's hard to kill it off. But once it starts dying off, it really starts to die off. So I think after this Investor Day, I think we could start really seeing some heavy selling. in the next couple of days. So that's good for the bears, not so much for the bulls. Nvidia trying to sell off. We'll see what happens today. Had a little bit of a down pump here, but it really needs to break this range here, which is if it could break below 224. Again, a huge gap fill here. You're going to get a huge drop essentially from 224 down to 212. So that's been kind of what I'm really been watching here to see if it will break or not. But we'll have to wait and see within the video. BA, again, I jump back to the higher time frames here. You did see a break finally of this support here at 205. Now you're getting a retest. Again, if it comes below the 203, you're going to start seeing some heavy selling down to the 187. Now that value is starting to give up, right? Those used to be essentially our pillars for finance and value. If they start to come down, along with tech, you're going to get some heavy sell pressure. Something talked about once industries all start looking the same, you're going to get that huge rollover, and then everything's going to start selling off. Again, been talking about this. You can check out all my videos up to this point. They've led into the same thesis, and there's specific things I was looking for, and they're starting to play out. Right? I'm not trying to project, hey, well, the market's going to be down in 6 months. The market's going to be up in 6 months. I really go day to day, and I really try to watch what's currently going on and price action at the same time, plus scheduled events. And then I kind of base my opinion on what is currently playing out. If the dynamic of the market changes, because that does change each and every day, just depends on what news is dropped, and then kind of see if it still feeds into my original thesis or it doesn't. So nonetheless, BA is starting to sell off, so there'll be some added sell pressure. Goldman Sachs has been it's been getting hit pretty heavy after the comments. This thing's been selling off pretty heavy. The JPM's actually been holding pretty well though. 343. If this does break below that, again, your next level is roughly at 320. Then watching that 295. But if it can hold this, again, you're playing this range up to essentially that 380 mark. So kind of watching that. Again, JPM has still been really pushing hard here. Again, more continued layoffs to the banks as well. So potentially helping the banks, who knows? But nonetheless, JPM can't break the 144. Again, I see this coming back down at least the 130. And if it breaks that, you're going to start recovering a lot of this overextended move here. So you're at least looking roughly, I think, at 118 on this potential pullback that we could have for this month. Again, we have to wait and see. Nothing is guaranteed. So really kind of watching there. AI is another big one I kind of want to watch on this pullback. Again, right here, it needs to break the $20 mark. Kind of really aiming for that $10 mark. See if we can get it that low. I think it's a strong possibility. There is a lot of hype right now. So kind of just waiting for it to die off back down to 10. You got support here, essentially around the $15 mark. So you might get a dead cat bounce here at the 15, but I think ultimately you'll see it back down here, roughly around the $10 mark again before it could potentially explode back up. So I really want to keep this one on the watch on the next way down. NVIDIA is another big one I want to watch on the next way down because NVIDIA feeds a lot of the AI, especially the ChatGPT. It feeds a lot of chips are used for that, and the potential for more chips of NVIDIA chips for ChatGPT is very strong possible. Essentially, if we are looking for cheaper labor and be able to have AI would be a strong candidate for that. So I'm kind of want to keep those under the belt for potential watches coming into this next major dip and potentially feeling in the next couple of years. So those are what I am watching for tomorrow. But again, I don't really see anything crazy going on for the rest of the week. Again, you're going to get jobless claims tomorrow. That might feel more to the downside. If we do break, that's the only momentum I could see down. I don't see any momentum going up. Just be a little bit added sell. Again, we're not going to see big explosive moves till Powell, till non-farms, till monetary policy, till core. Those are going to be your power moves. Those are what the market are really looking for. A lot of these other data sets. They do have weight intraday, so you can get some nice moves intraday. But again, the market is very indecisive. It doesn't want to just keep selling for no reason. But things aren't looking good for core thus far. So with that being said, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. What's your game plan? What's your thesis? What have I taught you? What would you like to know? Any of those kind of things, just leave those down in the comments. Aside from that, appreciate you. Go ahead and drop a like to show your appreciation. And until next time, I will see you guys later.